Good morning. My name is Dottie Bauer, and I want to welcome you to the Keene Unitarian Universalist Church today, the last Sunday of 2007. We're delighted that you've come and extend a special welcome to visitors and newcomers who have joined us this morning. There are many ways to get and stay connected here. If you'd like, sign the guest book over here by the door to your left, and we'll send you a copy of the newsletter. Reverend Olivia is here today joining our pickup choir, and she'll be available to answer questions after the service, as are any of our members and friends here in the sanctuary. Feel free to speak with anyone who's wearing a name tag or not, because I never remember to put mine on. We look forward to getting to know you. Everyone's invited to share coffee and conversation after the service in the parish hall, which is through the door to your left. I'd remind everyone who may have forgotten that now is a good time to turn off any cell phones or pagers. Also, please be sure to read the announcements on the green sheet that came with your order of service. I do have a couple of special announcements. I'd like to invite anyone who has not had the opportunity to make a New Year's resolution, that their New Year's resolution could be to sign up to be a welcomer, chalice lighter, usher, or coffee hour host for 2008. The sign-up locations are in the parish hall, and there's plenty of room for all to participate. There's no special talents required for any of those jobs, so feel free to join us. I also want to give a special welcome to our guest service leader and preacher today. Jocelyn Gardner first came to KUUC as a 4-year-old. She had in hand her skunk puppet that went everywhere with her, and on that morning there was a special announcement that the skunk that had been living under the sanctuary and giving fragrance to the worship services had been trapped and relocated to some woods far away. So she made a splash on her first day with that skunk puppet. Jocelyn grew up here in Keene, graduated from Keene High in 2001, graduated from Williams College in 2005, moved to Boston to work in the nonprofit world, and this fall she began her studies to become a UU minister at Harvard Divinity School. I know all of this because I'm her mom. I'm especially pleased because of that the worship committee invited Jocelyn to be our service leader today. So whether you are joining us for the first time or come every Sunday, welcome. May you find something here that challenges your mind, opens your heart, and soothes your spirit. And now will you please stand as you are able and join in singing our opening hymn. Oops, it says chalice lighting here. Sorry, I messed up. The script has it different. Sorry, Jocelyn.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you all this morning. Before we light the chalice, I'm going to say a few opening words, which are written by the Reverend William F. Schultz. Come into this place of peace, and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory, and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power, and let its vision change your heart. As Olivia lights our chalice, please join in saying the words printed in your order of service. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame with us. Now I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our opening hymn, number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. Is this on? No. This is the time during our service when we share our deepest humanity with each other. If you've come this morning with a joy so great that it's hard to sit still, please come forward and share it that we may celebrate with you. If you've come this morning with a sorrow so heavy that your heart feels like lead, please come and share it that we may bear the burden with you. For the fabric of this community is woven from the individual strands of our lives. I invite you to come forward as you are moved. Tell us your name and what's in your heart or on your mind this morning. And please do remember to be as brief as you can so that everyone will have a chance to share.
I'm Olivia Holmes, and I want to light a candle this morning for my niece and her husband, who lost the first baby of our family of the next generation on the day after Christmas.
And I am here with sorrow for a friend who lost her 16-year-old son this week.
I'm Vicki Cronin, and I just want to light a candle. So much joy that I have to see so many friends, old and new, our college students that are here this week, our graduates that have come back, and all the children that are here in the sanctuary. So thank you so much.
I just recently learned that my last living aunt, who was 96 years old, and living in Moscow, Idaho, has just had to leave her house and go into an assisted living. And she is, well, the word indomitable has been used, but now she can no longer walk around the block. And this may be her last Christmas season. And I may never see her again. That's a huge sadness.
Hi, I'm Dee Gardner. My parents, Fred and Nancy Wright, on Christmas Day just celebrated their 51st anniversary. So I'm going to thank them.
I could not just sit there in the pew. I'm Mary Stockwell, and for 10 years was a DRE here from when Jocelyn was in second grade on. And from the moment I read that she was going to be here, I haven't been able to sit still, much less sit in the pew. So this is a candle of joy, and a gazillion things I could say, but I won't because I'll let the next person get a chance. I would just also like to say for those of you who know us that my husband Dan is doing great. He's off any bell curves we've heard of, but he does have a few spots in the spine we haven't been able to get rid of yet. We're in a new treatment now, so please keep your prayers coming for us. Thanks.
My name is Jocelyn. I have a lot of joy. Just the joy to be here and see you start being a minister. You're going to be a wonderful minister. I can tell already. My biggest joy has been, I just got back yesterday, the day before, from Los Angeles to visit my daughter for Christmas. And I had just been there at Thanksgiving, so I wasn't going to go. But then I felt very sad that she would be alone. And so I have great joy and gratitude for my husband for calling me at work one day and saying, I just got a ticket to Los Angeles for your birthday and Christmas. And I had a wonderful time with my daughter, and some of you know it's not always been easy with her. And it was just wonderful. We had a really nice time, and she's doing well. And I'm very, very grateful. And I'm grateful to have you all help.
I'm Beth Calder, and I'm lighting a candle of concern for my father, who had emergency surgery last night and is recovering in the hospital, and also for my mother, who is his primary caretaker as he deals with progressive dementia.
Hi, I'm Deb Nunes, and this is a candle of joy as the Nunes family welcomes Arthur grandson, Hayden, who was born on December 8th.
I am Mary Ellen Fortini, and I would like to light a candle of sorrow. My niece Jennifer and her husband Stevie have both been deployed, and they will be going to, actually they're probably on their way now to Qatar. The sorrows especially because they had to leave behind with my brother and his wife, their 11-month-old daughter. And but I also would like to light this candle of joy because she's surrounded by a loving family. And as they were getting ready to leave, my brother and his wife brought them to the airport with the baby, and they were so sad because they were going to miss her first birthday, her first steps, her first words. And while they were waiting at the airport, she said, "Hi, Mama, hi, Dada," and got on board.
I'll light one final candle for all the joys and sorrows that we've shared here this morning, and for those that we hold in the silence of our hearts. May our joys be multiplied and our sorrows eased through sharing them in community.
Our reading this morning is a short poem by Wendell Berry. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing hymn number 55, Dark of Winter. Gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to us this morning. We are gathered here today amid the dark of winter. This is the darkest time of the year, a time of long nights, short days, watery winter sunlight that can't quite overcome the chill of the frozen earth. Though we're now 9 days past the solstice and have gained back a few minutes of daylight since that shortest day of all, we are in the dark of winter. When I was growing up just a couple miles from here, I used to love to be outside at night, especially in the winter. With the snow creaking under my feet and the ice forming in my nose hairs, I'd bundle up and tromp outside to see Orion and Cassiopeia in the cold, dark sky. I remember those crisp, clear, sparkling nights as a really magical time. But now that I've reached the ripe old age of 24, I find myself feeling somewhat less affection for the dark. At this time of year especially, the long winter nights start to feel interminable, and I find myself wishing that the sun would hurry up and come on back already. I suspect that I'm not alone in those sentiments. This dark time of year is a hard time for many people. So we borrow the traditions of those who've gone before us, and we join them in calling the light out of the darkness. 6 days ago on Christmas Eve, many of us were here together in this sanctuary, warm with bundled up bodies and affectionate greetings, and bright with candles and laughter and music. We gathered as people have done for millennia at this time of year, coming together for warmth and companionship during these darkest of days. Winter is the season of Advent and Christmas, of Hanukkah and Kwanzaa, of solstice and Yule. In all of these holidays, people celebrate the return of the light into this dark world. The coming of the light is surely a joyous event that is well worth celebrating. The carols and candles, the gifts and food and family gatherings fill this time of year with the hope that is wrapped up in all of those rituals. But even as I've been enjoying the holiday spirit during these past few days and weeks, I've been wrestling with that pesky question. Why is it, a little voice keeps asking me, why is it that we are so focused on the return of the light? Why are we in such a hurry to get out of the darkness? For our long ago ancestors, darkness was understandably frightening and dangerous. Who knew what saber-toothed beast might lurk in the shadows, or what unseen chasm might yawn hungrily just around the bend? To go into the darkness was to risk life and limb in a savage and inhospitable environment. It's no wonder that ancient humans huddled together in caves lit by firelight, waiting out the storms and eagerly marking the return of the sun. I think some of this primal reaction to winter's darkness has stuck with us, in spite of the modifications we've made to our surroundings as human civilization has evolved. For most of us, the environment no longer poses such a threat of death or demise, though tragically there are still far too many people among us who lack shelter and protection during these cold, dark months. But most of us do have fireplaces and furnaces and double-paned storm windows to keep out the cold. Our way is lit by streetlights and headlights and compact fluorescent lamps. Yet still each year we count the ever-lengthening nights until the solstice, and we watch eagerly as the days begin to lengthen again. But if the dark is no longer such a threat to our immediate well-being, what's the rush? Why are we so fixated on the return of the light? The more I ponder this question, the more I think that we could learn something important by reining ourselves in just a bit in our headlong rush toward spring. The winter offers gifts of its own. The darkness, too, has things to teach us. It blooms and sings, in the words of Wendell Berry, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. These days in which we are living at the turning of the seasons and of the year give us an opportunity to draw the darkness near for a while, to let it surround us and flow through us. To some degree, taking our time with the darkness is a pragmatic suggestion. Like it or not, winter is a dark time here in New England. No matter how many candles we light, the sun will come back in its own sweet time, just as it always does. By accepting the darkness as a natural and necessary part of the cycle of the year, we can save ourselves a lot of stress and anxiety. Fighting the dark just makes it seem, well, darker. It's a bit like walking in the woods at night. If you turn on a flashlight, you might see your path a bit more clearly, but the forest outside your little sphere of light will be pitch black and foreboding. If instead you just let yourself adjust to the dark, you can still tell where the path is, and the forest around feels softer and much less frightening. But simply resigning ourselves to darkness is not really what I'm after this morning. This season has more to offer, I think. This dark time can also be a time of rest. Just as each day has its night, so each year has its winter. It's the season of hibernation, of bedding down, of resting after a spring of procreation, a summer of rearing young, a fall of foraging and feeding. Winter, at least here in New England, is when the world sleeps. Perhaps we humans might take a lesson from good old Mother Nature during the hustle and bustle of our winter holiday season. But hiding ourselves away in our homes to sleep through the winter's darkness really isn't my objective either. Again, I think there's more that we can learn from this season. The darkness can also be a time for growth. If you've ever turned over a rock or moved a downed log or dug a hole in your garden, you've seen for yourself that many creatures thrive in the absence of light. Or if you've ever planted seeds, you know that they germinate and sprout in the damp, fertile darkness, surrounded by soil and earthworms and insects of all kinds. Even people grow at night, or at least that's what my mom told me when I was little to encourage me to go to bed. Darkness encourages us to grow in other ways as well. Without light, we humans are deprived of the use of our eyes, a primary source of sensory information for most of us. Without sight, our other senses have the opportunity to grow more acute. We are forced to listen more closely, to touch more tenderly. We can learn to pay attention in new ways and come to understand the world around us more fully. We may feel uncertain as we move through a darkened world, but this uncertainty can be healthy. It is good for us to lose our sureness sometimes, to be reminded of how much there is that we do not know or understand, and to tread more carefully as a result. Darkness invites us to contemplation and spiritual growth. I often find that I do my best reflecting on the world, on myself, on my relationships, on God, when it's dark outside, early in the morning or late at night. Free from the distractions of light and activity, we can think more clearly about the things that matter deeply in our lives. We can feel the tugging of the threads of the interdependent web. We can develop our inner senses and learn to listen to that still, small voice within us. Shaded from the bright and unforgiving light of midday, we can be more open to mystery and to the workings of the Spirit that moves in the secret recesses of our hearts. Sometimes our souls need to be sheltered from the buffeting of the world while they grow and stretch in new ways. The gentle darkness incubates us. It gives us room to breathe and stillness to feel the stirrings of the holy. It does not demand explanation or justification. It gives us time to understand ourselves more fully, to see our innermost selves more clearly. This notion of darkness as a fertile time for spiritual growth is not a new idea, of course. One very moving account of such an experience is given by San Juan de la Cruz, a 16th century Christian mystic in Spain. In his manuscript entitled Dark Night of the Soul, he tells the story of his own time of darkness, not the gentle darkness of this morning's hymn, but a time of spiritual privation and inner darkness. For him, the dark night of the soul was a time of struggle and loneliness, a time when he thought he had lost his way completely. And yet, in his writing, he celebrates that experience, and he urges others to follow, for it led him to clarity and purity of thought and to closer relationship with his God. "Oh, happy chance," he writes, "that God leads into the dark night those whom he desires to purify from all these imperfections, so that he may bring them farther onward." Now, as Unitarian Universalists, we don't necessarily believe that divinely imposed suffering is necessary to achieve insight or virtue or union with God. But I think San Juan de la Cruz is onto something with his idea that difficult times can also be fertile ones. We all sometimes find ourselves in dark times, ordained by God or not, times of grief, of personal struggle, or of pain. Rushing as quickly as possible out of this darkness deprives us of its healing power. Running blindly for the edge of the forest without any regard for the landmarks along the way makes it all the harder to find the path out the next time we find ourselves in such a dark place. I'm not saying it's easy or enjoyable to endure a dark night of the soul, quite the opposite, and I'm certainly not wishing such an experience on any of you. But when we find ourselves in such a place, as we almost inevitably will, I hope we will remember that it is a healthy and deeply important part of being human. The things we learn during our times of darkness become essential parts of who we are. When we go in the darkness, We learn to find our way using our ears and our hands and our hearts. When we go in the darkness, we may stumble and we may fall, but in time we learn to rise again. And when we go in the darkness, we do not have to go alone. Whether we believe we are accompanied by God or simply by the people who love us, we have companions who will warm us when we are cold, who will steady us when we grow weak, who will help to guide us when we lose our way. Friends, as we stand here at the end of the holiday season, just past the solstice and on the cusp of a new year, let us pause and savor the darkness. Let us taste the frozen air and feel the snowflakes tracing our faces in the shapes of the constellations. For the dark stillness of winter has its own beauty. It is not just a time to be endured until the arrival of spring. May it be a time of rest. May it be a time of growth. May it be a time of contemplation and wonder and spiritual deepening. If it is a hard time, may we find our way through with courage and grace, arriving eventually at a place of peace. And may we hold the gifts of the darkness in our hearts, even as we celebrate the return of the light. For it is good to light candles, to come together in community, and to welcome the strengthening sun with open arms. And it is also good to embrace and to be embraced by the darkness. Blessed be. Please join now in the spirit of prayer and meditation. O you of many names, Spirit of life and love, may we feel your presence with us in darkness and in light. May we be surrounded these winter days by gentle darkness, not the bitter darkness of oppression, not the empty darkness of despair, but the sweet and fertile darkness of possibility. Let us pause now in silence and let the darkness hold us. We'll be quiet together for a while. May we carry within us both darkness and light, for both are good, and both are necessary, and both are ours. So may it be. Amen. As much as I want this morning to be a celebration of the beauty and the value of darkness, I have to acknowledge that it would be difficult to have this church service without the lights on. Keeping this building running, keeping it lit and heated and clean and maintained is part of the ongoing life of this congregation, and it happens as a direct result of the gifts we all bring. Gifts of time and talent, and yes, money. As we are generously sustained by this community, let us generously sustain it in return. If you are visiting us this morning, please feel free to let the basket pass you by. Your presence is gift enough. And just a note that Vladimir will be playing an extended selection, so there will be plenty of time for giving. And it will also take the place of the meditation and meditation response that are printed in your order of service. The morning offering will now be given and gratefully received. invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, number 57, All Beautiful, the March of Days. Shadow and sunbeam, darkness and light are woven together as we are in the tapestry that we call life. May the light guide us. May the darkness nurture us. And as we travel through the ever-turning cycle of the seasons, may we go in peace. As Olivia extinguishes the chalice, please join in saying the words printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
are you? What do you think? Happy?
Happy.
Oh, good.
Full of awe.
Full of joy.